What's going on, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the second and the third models from Donovan Mitchell's D.O.N issue shoe line head to head to see how they compare. So first, I don't want to spend much time focusing on like the box and the price for these, but you can see it's going to be a pretty similar setup for the boxes from last year's model compared to this year's model with that spider logo on top. The only minor difference is that the D.O.N issue 2 does have his like name on the box compared to the D.O.N 3 having that issue 3 on there. So for pricing though, there is going to be a lot to love in that area, with this second model retailing for $100 flat, and the third is just $10 higher at $110. So definitely on the more affordable side of the scale, but that covers the box and price for these. So now let's get into the shoes. All right, so before I dive into like the tech specs and more of the performance comparison, I just want to hit on the appearance for both of these models. Just kind of quickly talk about a few changes, some things I like, some things I don't like. So I'm not really gonna get too much into the color schemes for this review, because on the left here, we have like a fun like blue colorway for the D.O.N issue 3, and then more of a basic generic kind of look in this gray color scheme for the D.O.N 2. But the first major appearance thing that sticks out is how they kind of changed the heel setup across this second to the third line. That was actually my favorite part about this D.O.N issue 2, was like that wavy heel design back there, because it did allow for like a really cool Marvel and like Venom design with like some teeth showing up on the back there in that area. I get that's pretty specific. It's a pretty specific thing to focus on when it was just one pair, but I think it was just an overall better look back there compared to not really much going on the back half of the D.O.N issue 3. But I do like how they kind of cleaned up the midsole on this third model, kind of adding like a little bit of a crown design running up that, kind of compared to this random side piece on the side of that D.O.N issue 2. But then you're going to see like that issue 2 text show up on the laces up the middle of that shoe. But I do kind of like how they turned it more horizontal with kind of a band running across the shoe on the D.O.N 3 model. So they did make some changes between these two shoes. I'm not really sure though that it was for the better in my opinion, because there were more things on this D.O.N 2 model that I liked more, like that crown design that kind of shows up on the upper, and then of course that heel part that I referenced. I did like that. So some of the new ideas on the D.O.N 3, they just didn't look the best, but we'll just kind of leave that alone because looks are always going to be subjective anyways. So now let's go ahead and check out how each of these shoes do on the court. All right, so now looking more at the performance and the materials comparison, let's check out the cushioning first. So these actually do differ in that area, with the D.O.N 2 having a bounce midsole, and then the D.O.N 3 is going to have the more traditional like light strike midsole for cushioning. And you're going to see that in some different shoe lines for Adidas. Like James Harden used to use that, and that's what Damian Lillard's using right now. So in my opinion, the issue 3 does play a little bit softer than the D.O.N 2. These will require a little bit more breaking time, but that is mainly going to be due to how supportive this second model is. The containment for like all your movements on the D.O.N 2 is definitely going to be the selling point for these shoes. There's just great coverage all around. It gives you a really solid and locked in feel. Not necessarily to say that like the D.O.N 3 is lacking in that area, but you can't tell just by playing in them, and honestly even looking at the two shoes in hand, that the materials just aren't quite as sturdy on the 3s for the Donovan shoe line. But you are going to have more mesh and like kind of less overlays on the third model, so it is going to be like that's going to allow for like some added comfort just to play in them. That's where like the cushioning and like extra comfort comes into play. But jumping to the bottom of these and checking out traction, these do have a similar traction pattern going on, except you can see that the D.O.N issue 2 is decoupled, and that just means that there's kind of a clear break in the middle of that design, and that does allow for a little bit of added flexibility. But other than that, pretty similar in look. As you can see, there was a few times that the D.O.N 2 felt somewhat inconsistent, but like nothing over the top. I just slipped like once, maybe twice. But as for sizing, unlike a lot of times with Adidas, I would recommend a true to size fit for both of these shoes. The D.O.N 2 does have a little bit more of a snug fit. The D.O.N 3, it's got some wiggle room for your feet at the end, but I still wouldn't recommend going like a half size down, maybe a half size down in the 3s, but you're not going to need to go like a full size down like some shoe lines out there, like the Future Natural or like Harden's shoe line especially. But for final ratings, it's going to be a slight edge to the D.O.N 2 for appearance. I do think they made a bigger stride to make these look better from like the 1 to the 2 than they did from the second to the third model. But then for cushioning, this does go to the third model with that light strike midsole. I was a big fan of those, but like I just mentioned, the D.O.N 2 is going to be one of the most supportive shoes out there, so that's going to be an easy choice for that section. But as for traction, like I just said, these do play really similar and have pretty much the exact same setup. So I'm going to have to leave that at a draw, leave that as a tie for these. So for this battle, I am going to give a slight edge to the D.O.N issue 2 by a really slim margin. Definitely let me know which shoe you guys like better in the comments below. And support will play a major role for basketball shoes, so there is going to be a lot to like with that D.O.N 2 model. But keep in mind, if you're looking for something just a little bit more comfortable, the D.O.N 3 might suit you just a tad bit better. But in the end, both are going to be really solid options and hold up well. And then just a reminder, I want to let you guys know that we do have full-length reviews out on both of these shoes individually, where we do go a little more in-depth on each shoe. So you can check those out on our YouTube or on our Instagram TV. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our unboxing and competition and performance review for the Adidas D.O.N issue 2 and the D.O.N issue 3 models. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in purchasing either of these shoes, just check the links in the description below. Also, be sure to click the link in our bio, and from there you can find our shoes that are available for sale on our website. You can also head over to our social media where you can stay informed just on like upcoming sneaker releases. And then last, just feel free to leave a comment below if you like this review or just kind of letting us know any other shoes you want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.